happens a lot. We do keep seeing that. Keep your messages coming in, won't you? We are reading them. I'm going to also just bring in a guest now, Mark J Finlay. Mark is based here in America, but I believe is a proud Northern Irish man. He advises members of the Congress and has been at the centre of US and UK geopolitics for over 10 years. Great to see you, Mark. Thank you so much for joining me. So you watched from America, you watched this speech of Keir Starmer today. So what did you make of it? Because you bring this very interesting perspective to it.
Well, it's very interesting you say that I watched it. I did, with a little difficulty, because it really wasn't reported here in the United States at all. And I've looked at a number of the channels, and it's as if the event didn't happen, whereas there was a lot of coverage of our Secretary of War at Quantico addressing the generals who were all dutifully gathered in front of him. But I certainly was surprised at some of the rhetoric and the tone about the speech that I watched. And I have to say, I would balance that with saying I was pleasantly surprised at the Prime Minister's demeanour and performance. It wasn't what I was expecting from him. He clearly doesn't feel comfortable in that type of environment. But immediately afterwards, his party colleagues were coming to say what a great job he'd done. And I heard Rachel Reeves, for example, to pick up on the point about Nigel Farage. And I think she said it was worse than racism. It was immoral. And so a number of them made comments like that. So they're kind of doubling down on their attack on Farage. And of course, Keir Starmer joked and said, he referred to the Tory party and said, "Do you remember them?" And, you know, so he didn't mention Kemi Badenoch by name. It was all about Keir Starmer.
But that very much surely doesn't do the reform any harm, because when you're attacking reform, you're also attacking the people who like reform, and they're just going to become even more entrenched in wanting to vote for their local Reform MP come the next election, Mark. Surely, if you were advising Labour, isn't it just classier just not to mention them?
That's right. And, you know, we've seen President Trump, you know, made an art form out of referring to people in a negative way, often giving them a nickname or a title. And, you know, it worked for him. And, you know, talking about the opposition is never a good strategy. And, you know, I see the focus on Nigel Farage, but you know, the one thing I would say that's different that we've yet to see with reform is the depth and strength of the panel, the bench behind him. You know, we have seen with President Trump when he can command the microphone, can work Twitter and the likes to as a fine art. He has a team of people behind him who are experienced deal makers, diplomats, peacemakers, and others. So we've now got to start to see some of the substance. But I think Nigel Farage will be very happy that the debate stays at this very high level.
I mean, I sort of spent a little bit of time with Nigel, obviously, as a colleague here at GB News, and I think he had reached almost the end of his tether today. He was both infuriated, but also genuinely scared. As he said to me, I am fearful. He said, not just for me, but for the people who work for reform on the ground, or for people who express just concern about so much illegal migration. And shouldn't Keir Starmer take some responsibility for whipping up that sort of hate? In an interview at the weekend with the BBC, he said that Nigel Farage's plans to send people home who have indefinite leave to remain was racist. I mean, to use that word is so inflammatory.
It's very important that our leaders are careful with their language, and I totally agree with you. It's just after we've seen the tragic killing of Charlie Kirk here in the United States. And, you know, so many things were said about Charlie that were just not true. And he was demonized. And my parents would talk to me. They live still in Belfast, and I'll talk to them about the news reporting on your side of the Atlantic. And thank goodness for GB News. I've given up on the other channels. You know, it really is shocking how things are reported, and we whip people up into a frenzy. You know, I do come from Belfast, and I was 15 years of age when my constituency MP was assassinated. And 2 years later, as a 17-year-old, I was standing near the gates of my school in Belfast, across the road from Queen's University, when his successor, who was a 29-year-old, brilliant, articulate young man, law lecturer, was gunned down and assassinated because they were concerned about somebody who was articulate and who would be good in front of the microphone. So I do worry in this day and age that we are whipping people up into this frenzy, and we have to calm the rhetoric down.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mark. Any advice for me as someone who's lived in America for a while now, how to manage this crazy city of Washington, D.C.?
Well, take your time. It takes a while to translate. I remember my wife coming home one day and saying, "What's this thing I'm supposed to be doing?" And people were telling her, "How are you acclimating?" Of course, Winston Churchill talked about two countries divided by a common language. In the United Kingdom, you acclimatize. In America, you acclimate.
Yeah.
And I know you do that very well.
Yeah. I can relate. I can very much relate. Mark, thank you so much, Mark. J Finlay there. Join me again soon, won't you? Acclimate, gentlemen.
You should probably learn how to ride an e-scooter. You know, I've always used the scooters to get around DC.
No.
Better to be on them than the person under them.
No.
So.
Just walk. Have more dignity.
Yeah, I am. I'm having to walk everywhere. I won't go anywhere near those scooters. I find them absolutely terrifying.
I will fix you. It's okay.
Right, still to come this evening on The Late Show Live.